Is that Trump Organization CFO Alan Weisselberg was granted immunity to testify in the criminal case surrounding President Trump's former attorney Michael Cohen. Now, New York Times is reporting that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is considering pursuing state criminal charges against the Trump Organization in connection with Cohen's payment to Stormy Daniels during the 2016 campaign. And Weisselberg's ties to the president go back decades, and legal scholars like Alan Dershowitz is now saying the focus on the Trump Organization should concern the White House.
The real issues could be investigated and are being investigated by the Southern District of New York. They're the office that's giving immunity to the executives of the corporations and other people. And so I think any vulnerabilities that the Trump Organization or the campaign has will be in the Southern District of New York and not in Mueller's investigation.
Let's bring in now our legal panel. Robert Schalk is here. He's a defense attorney and former prosecutor, and Yodit Tewolde, defense attorney and former prosecutor. Robert, I'll start with you. First, let's go here. Why would federal investigators grant immunity, and what info might they be after?
Well, Arthel, I mean, federal prosecutors don't just hand out immunity to anybody. They hand out immunity to people who they think have some culpability criminally, potentially, or have such good information that they want them to come in and entice them to testify, saying no matter what you say in this grand jury, even if you implicate yourself, we will not be prosecuting you. They want to get to the bottom of these payments from President Trump's attorney, Mr. Cohen, with regards to the Stormy Daniels. Mr. Weisselberg has worked for the Trump Organization for 40 years. Sources have been quoted in numerous articles as saying he is the gatekeeper of every dollar. Did bank fraud get committed by Mr. Weisselberg, the Trump Organization, and who knew about it? That's going to be the question.
Now, Yodit, let's bring you in this conversation here. What charges might the Manhattan District Attorney's Office bring up?
Well, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office could bring up state charges with regards to the falsified financial records, because you have to remember Cohen pled guilty to 8 felonies, right, including campaign finance violations in connection to the payments to the 2 women who he also said was in coordination and at the direction of Trump for the purpose of influencing the 2016 presidential election. Now, how does that relate to, why is that important? How does that relate to Weisselberg? Well, we have to remember that Weisselberg was also in charge, allegedly, of the reimbursements to Cohen through the organization's trust. And that was in disguising the reimbursements as invoices for legal expenses. Now, if that were the case, then they might have falsified their actual financial documents. And so the state attorney's office could charge them with state charges. It could be felonies for that very purpose. And so you also look at what the AG could be trying to charge the Trump Foundation, separate and apart from the Trump Organization, that their charity was used to bolster or to help the campaign when that's a direct violation of state laws that actually say that foundations can't participate in political activity. So there's a number of charges that Weisselberg can actually help with regards to his testimony down the line for prosecutors.
Bob, how much legal protection does President Trump have from the New York Attorney General, and how much protection does citizen Donald Trump have?
I mean, it's been debated over the last week whether or not a sitting president can be indicted. Obviously, the Department of Justice currently believes that a sitting president cannot. However, the statute of limitations could continue past the president's first 4 years. Therefore, if President Trump were to lose election and therefore not be the sitting president anymore, could he be indicted upon him leaving office, either in the state level or at the federal level, should charges be there? With that said, you have to also take into consideration the protection that President Trump cannot give Mr. Weisselberg and potentially any other employees or family members. If they're charged at the state level, he does not have any ability to pardon any of these people, and they can be prosecuted at the state level without any protection.
So I was going to go that, because they're with you, Bob, and staying with you right now, because the President Trump appears to, he tends to distance himself from former confidants. And I wanted to talk to you about his strategy there. Is it effective, and could he do the same thing with family members, Bob?
Yeah, I mean, you can try to distance yourself all you want, but at the end of the day, his sons are running the trust. His son-in-law and his daughter were heavily involved in the campaign, and his son was involved with certain meetings. So the question becomes, he cannot provide them any protection at the state level, so he can distance himself all he wants from them. But at the end of the day, we live in a technological age, and whether it be Mueller's investigation, whether it be the Southern District's investigation, whether it be the Manhattan District Attorney's Office or the Attorney General, we have text messages, emails, things of the like that will, you can distance yourself all you want, but there's going to be that electronic footprint that ties you back to all of these people.
Yodit, what's your analysis on this part?
Trump has a pattern of distancing himself and downplaying the roles of former employees, when the heat gets turned up, and he can't possibly do that, or at least it'll be difficult in doing that with his CFO, who has worked for him for, like, Bob said, for 40 years, and who's, basically checked every dollar that has come in and that has gone out of the Trump organization. To distance himself from a person like that would be difficult, just like he tried to do with Michael Cohen, and said that he did very little legal work for him, and that he only saw him, a few times here and there through 10 years of knowing him. So that's just how Donald Trump operates when the heat is turned up. He can't do that necessarily with this individual, the CFO, but we'll see how his cooperation with prosecutors going down the line, because, he does have immunity. So the Southern District of New York has a more expansive investigative authority than the Mueller probe, who's narrowly supposed to look at the Russian interference of our 2016 election.
That said,
and so
in
Southern
short,
District of New York.
I'm sorry, Yodit. That said,
yes. So,
are you suggesting the president should be concerned? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely. He should be concerned now, especially with the CFO, who basically knows where all the financial bodies are, like everyone has been saying. And so, yeah, he should be concerned.
Got anything, sure. Bob, right quick?
I would agree. He should be concerned about someone who's worked for him for 40 years being given immunity to speak freely.
Bob Schalk, Yodit Tewolde, thanks to you both.